She's staring down the desert sun, and the path to the Indian Wells final just got a whole lot more dangerous. Because when the draw dropped in California, it didn't just give us matchups. It gave us a potential war. Aryna Sabalenka versus Coco Gauff, world number one versus America's biggest tennis star. And if everything holds, they are on a semi-final collision course in tennis paradise. But here's the twist. The bracket says one thing. The pressure says another. And by the end of this video, you might completely change your mind about who's actually making that final. Let's start with the top seed, Aryna Sabalenka. Sabalenka enters Indian Wells with serious momentum. She's 11-1 to start 2026. One title, another final. She looks physically stronger, emotionally calmer, and tactically sharper than we've seen in previous seasons. This isn't just a power-hitting version of Sabalenka anymore. This is a version that knows how to win ugly, and that's terrifying for the rest of the tour. She gets a bye in round one, which is standard for the top seeds. But round two? Potentially wild card Alicia Parks. And that's not a comfortable opener. Parks is raw firepower. On a slow Indian Wells court, that serve can still cause chaos. Sabalenka will be favored, obviously, but early rounds at a WTA 1000 are dangerous. One loose set, one lapse in focus, and suddenly the crowd starts to believe. If Sabalenka survives that, she could face Maya Join in the third round. Young, fearless, nothing to lose. Those are the players who swing freely against top seeds. Then comes the first real blockbuster possibility. Round 4 could bring Naomi Osaka. And this is where things get spicy. Osaka on hard courts is never a comfortable opponent. Even if she's not fully back to peak form, she has that championship aura. She's beaten the best on the biggest stages. If she finds rhythm in the desert, that fourth round clash becomes must-watch television. And imagine this scenario. Sabalenka, the top seed, having to blast her way through a former world number one just to reach the quarterfinals. Speaking of quarters, the projected opponent there is Amanda Anisimova. Anisimova is dangerous. Clean ball striker. Takes time away. And she's shown before that she's not afraid of big names. If her backhand catches fire, Sabalenka could be pulled into long baseline exchanges instead of dictating. Then the semifinal. The one everyone's circling. Coco Gauff. But before we get to that potential showdown, let's talk about Gauff's path. Because honestly, it might be even trickier. Gauff also receives a first-round bye. In round 2, she could face Bianca Andreescu. Yes, that Bianca Andreescu. A former U.S. Open champion with nothing to prove and everything to gain. Andreescu as a wild card is dangerous. When healthy, she mixes pace, spins the ball differently, and disrupts rhythm. Gauff's forehand can sometimes get rushed under pressure. That's a matchup that could get complicated fast. Then round 3 could bring Alexandra Eala. And if you've been following the tour, you know that storyline has layers. Gauff recently dominated Eala in Dubai. But young stars don't forget losses like that. They circle them. They grow from them. Eala would walk into that match swinging with freedom. Round 4, Linda Noskova. Noskova is one of those flat hitters who loves quicker conditions. If she steps inside the baseline and takes Gauff's serve early, that could turn into a physical battle. Then the quarterfinal projection, Jasmine Paolini. Paolini doesn't overpower you. She outmaneuvers you. She extends rallies. She forces you to hit one more ball. And sometimes with Gauff, patience is the key. If Coco rushes, errors creep in. Now here's where everything converges. If both survive their gauntlets, Sabalenka and Gauff meet in the semifinals. And let's be honest, that would feel like a final. Power versus speed. Roar versus composure. The top seed versus the home favorite. But wait, because looming in the other half of the draw is a quiet storm. Iga Swiatek. Swiatek is the second seed. Clinical, ruthless, and built for long rallies and slower conditions like Indian Wells. Her path? Also brutal. She's landed in the same section as defending champion Mirra, Andreeva. A potential quarterfinal between them would be a rematch dripping with tension. And if Swiatek gets through that, she could face Elena Rybakina in the semifinals. Rybakina's flat power through the desert air is lethal. She takes the racket out of your hands. And we've seen before that when she's serving well, even Swiatek struggles to impose her heavy topspin. Before even reaching that stage, Swiatek might have to deal with Madison Keys and Jessica Pegula in back-to-back rounds. That's not a gentle progression. That's a grind. So here's a curiosity gap. Everyone's talking about Sabalenka versus Gauff. But what if neither makes it? What if Osaka rediscovers that killer instinct? What if Paolini drags Gauff into a 3-hour chess match? What if Rybakina bombs her way through the bottom half? Indian Wells is called tennis paradise, but for top seeds, it can feel like survival mode. Now, let me give you my honest take. Sabalenka's 11-1 record isn't just numbers. It's confidence. When she's serving well and controlling her emotions, she's almost unplayable. But her draw demands mental endurance. Osaka, Anisimova, Gauff. That's not just tennis. That's spotlight tennis. For Gauff, this feels like a statement tournament. She's 10-4 in 2026. Solid, but not dominant. Indian Wells in front of an American crowd is where she can reset the narrative. But she must protect that forehand under pressure. If she does, her athleticism could carry her deep. And Swiatek? She might be the most dangerous player simply because she's not the loudest storyline right now. When the spotlight shifts elsewhere, she quietly dismantles opponents. Here's my bold prediction. We are headed toward chaos before the semifinals. One of the big four, Sabalenka, Gauff, Swiatek, or Rybakina, is not making it as far as the bracket suggests. And when that upset happens, the entire dynamic changes. Because tennis at this level isn't just about ranking. It's about timing, form, belief. Indian Wells courts are slower. Balls bounce higher. That favors heavy topspin players like Swiatek. It gives defenders like Gauff extra time. But it also rewards clean strikers who commit early. Sabalenka has to balance aggression with patience. Gauff has to trust her weapons. Swiatek must stay composed for Andreeva, or Rybakina starts swinging freely. And don't forget the emotional layer. Sabalenka as top seed carries expectation. Gauff carries home pressure. Swiatek carries legacy. Rybakina carries quiet ambition. That's why this draw is fascinating. It's not just names. It's psychology. So here's the question I wanted to answer in the comments. If Sabalenka and Gauff do meet in the semifinals, who actually handles that moment better? The world number one with momentum, or the American star with the crowd behind her? And more importantly, is Iga Swiatek the one waiting to ruin both their dreams in the final? Drop your prediction right now. I'm reading the smartest takes. Because one thing is certain. This Indian Wells isn't about easy routes. It's about survival. And when the desert dust settles, only one woman will lift that trophy. We'll be here breaking down every twist, every upset, every rivalry chapter as it unfolds. This is why we love tennis. Not just the winners, but the battles it takes to become one. And if you're riding with tennis IQ, you already know we don't just watch the draw. We read between the lines.